We are live right as my air conditioning cuts on and blows the fan really loud, but I don't think you should hear it. Should be okay. Nice to see some regulars in the chat. Good to have you back, Brian. Good to see you here. Good to see you, Saul. Good evening. Yes, Frederick from Central Texas. Hello, everyone. William from Ontario. Thanks for joining. I feel like if you're a regular viewer of these live streams, you might have seen this kind of a trend before where I have what you might consider like a research week where I'm just setting up a lot of products. And so I don't have a video. It's been a while since I've had a video on the channel. I have one that almost certainly will be going live for members tomorrow and then everyone on Saturday. And I have a whole lot of Prime Day coverage coming next week. So lots of videos coming on the channel soon. But it's been like a lot of news to talk about, a lot of things I am fired up about, excited about, depending on, I don't know, how you want to slice it. But yeah, we actually have had a lot of interesting little things like companies teasing stuff on social media. We have a new social network with multiple ones with all these like AI video platforms. I don't really want to get too much into it, but I have been having some fun with Sora today. So I put out a quick invite for some of you guys to be able to join Sora. Had to take that down, but yeah, hopefully that worked out for some of you guys. And just some interesting Apple rumors, Google Home redesign. So lots to get to. But one thing that we talked about in the last live stream was my iPhone 17 Pro and the zoom capabilities, a nice camera. But earlier this week, I was just picking the iPhone 17 Pro up and using it and just lamenting the fact that it's not nice to hold a heavy phone in your hand. And I have not liked that about a lot of iPhones. When the iPhone 15 to 16 shed some weight because they moved to titanium, I love that. And it was really nice to have a lighter phone with the iPhone 16 Pro. Of course, with the 17 Pro and Pro Max, they're getting heavier. I went down to the 17 from the 16 Pro Max, or went down to the 17 Pro from the 16 Pro Max, thinking, oh, maybe I'll save a little bit of weight there. But it's just density for size. It's still just like a very heavy device. So I returned that to the Apple Store, and I got myself what I originally pre-ordered, which is a 512 gigabyte iPhone Air. So I have the iPhone Air. This is what I've been using. If it looks like it's curved, that's just like wide angle lens distortion. It's not actually curved. But yeah, so this is a great phone. I love it. However, I've been, I don't know, like, the battery life is not the best, and I've been kind of testing the limits on the battery today just to see. Right now, I'm in low power mode, and I'm at 15%. I took it off of the charger at like 5 a.m. this morning to go to the gym, 5:15 maybe. So, no, 5 a.m. Anyways, so it's been going, I've been using it a lot, and now it's 8:19 local time, my time, at 15%. So, yeah. I mean, that's not great, but I'd also kind of rather have a lighter phone and have the option of throwing it on the charger. I have MagSafe chargers all over the place, like at my desk at work and other places. So just putting it on a charger when it's at my desk, no big deal. To use a battery pack when I'm traveling, also not that big of a deal, I don't think. So I think it'll be okay. It's always like, the phone you want versus the phone you need. And I think phones these days are a lot like cars, and our streets in America are full of, I mean, my family included, I don't think it's a bad thing, but they're full of vehicles that have all-wheel drive and lots of storage capacity, because no one wants to buy a car and then not being able to haul large furniture or be stuck when it's snowing or ice outside and you can't drive, without your all-wheel drive car. Or at least, in colder climates. I know some of you guys live in warmer places where probably all-wheel drive is not as common, but you get where I'm going with this. No one wants to be without a phone that has some battery late in the day. So you get that, and everybody wants to be able to zoom in with their camera on their phone, at least if they're a big phone user, pro phone user. So that's where I think the pro phones kind of people gravitate to them, because it's like, well, this is the practical option. And most people keep their phones longer than I do. And so the battery health plays into it as well. Your battery life's not going to be as good in 2 or 3 years of using the phone. So, but I do love where the Air is going. I love the form factor. I love the feel of it in my hand. I love using the iPhone Air in a way I have not loved using an iPhone in a while. I really hope Apple continues to build on this concept of making some kind of a light, simplified, thinner phone. I do know that I'm losing like the zoom capabilities with the camera, but I also have multiple Nikon cameras and a 105 millimeter lens, and like plenty of ways I can zoom in on my kids for a nice concert or something like that if I need to. And I do take often a camera with me to shoot those kinds of events. There's going to be some, I'm sure, casual like sports events or things that we'll go to with kids or whatever that I will miss having the zoom for. But again, it's like, do you get it for the 90% of the time of I'm going to be holding the phone doing stuff with it, or do we get a phone that's great for the 10% of the time of, I have a zoom camera here to catch that one shot. So, and as a creator too, right? I'm going to miss some of the nice video features as a creator, but I rarely film video on my phone. And when I do, it's usually a quick shot with the wide lens for something. So, that's still very much possible with the Air so far. And I've only had it for a little over 24 hours, so it's still probably in some of the setup and indexing of the phone today, which probably worked it a little bit harder than usual. But yeah, that's the iPhone Air and my quick thoughts on it. One of the things that we didn't get to in the last live stream, well, first I'll say hi to some folks in the chat here. Good evening from Leesburg, Virginia. Cool, Juan. I mentioned this, I think, on past streams. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. James, nice to have you here. And good evening, Jeff from Georgia. Great. I'm glad the video and things are coming through and sounding good. I've been trying to make this live stream stuff feel a little more engaging and professional. I know YouTube is kind of pushing live streams more. And so I want it to be, if you're landing on this just like usually watch my videos, one of the first times watching a live stream, welcome. Good to have you here, watching the recording or live. Hopefully keeping it fast-paced enough and professional enough over time, reducing the technical difficulties, that then it can still feel authentic and real, but be a little more engaging than I think sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes I look at my live streams and like, why would someone watch this? But I mean, you guys like it, I'll keep showing up. So, hey Edgar, nice to see you here. Recent guest on the live stream. Good to have you back here in the chat. Carl. Yeah, I mean, I think Carl asked some good questions about the iPhone Air 17 Pro. I think we got into that since you typed that question. You got the 17 Pro Max, and also the weight is, yes, I agree with you, Carl. I mean, I held the Pro Max in the store. I got the Pro, same kind of deal. But, one thing that I do think is worth trying with a heavy phone is different types of cases. If you're looking to stay with the heavy style phone, one case that I really liked on my 16 Pro Max, and I also considered, like, if I kept the 17 Pro, I would have ordered it for the 17 series. Let me pull this up here. This is the Nomad. I love Nomad. They make a lot of great... Oops, hold on. There we go. Speaking of technical difficulties. So Nomad, they have these rugged cases, which add a little bit of bulk to the phone, but they are so easy to grip. They have them with plastic backs, leather backs, different options. But I got it with a blue plastic back for my 16 Pro Max. And I just find like the concave edges of this was really easy to grip. So just something to consider if you have a heavy phone, old or new. Maybe a different case could help it feel better. But every hand's different, every person's different. But yeah, I like having the Air. For me, right now, we'll see what I think about it in 6 months or a year. I just hope Apple keeps making them. Ratchet Gang, nice to see you here. Thanks for joining. Yes, I would love to see an iPhone Fold, William. And I think that'll be the real, as I mentioned last week, the really difficult decision for a lot of pro iPhone users. Do you go with the pro iPhone in terms of the screen size, right, and having a bigger screen, or the one that's inevitably going to have better cameras? Because I just think they're probably going to make a Pro Max version of, the iPhone 18 Pro Max or something like that, and it's going to have great cameras, better than the Fold. And so I think that'll be a tough decision for a lot of people. And it'll be interesting to see how Apple kind of markets the difference between those phones. Dan from Central Texas. Nice to have you here. Welcome. Got my first Apple Watch. Cool, Saul. Oh, yeah, not self-winding. That's funny. Yeah, although the battery life's gotten a lot better with Apple Watches. I find, too, if you have an Apple Watch that supports fast charging, having a fast charging Apple Watch charger is really nice for quickly charging it in the morning or evenings. I sleep track with my watch. I still have my Apple Watch Ultra 1. I've debated about, do I upgrade this year? Because I don't have on-device Siri. I don't have the whole, pinching to trigger stuff on the watch, but I'm fine. I mean, the Ultra 1 is still a great watch. Maybe next year there'll be enough sort of compounding features to give me a reason to upgrade. So we'll see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Another good case recommendation, Tech 21 cases. Never broken a screen. That's good to hear, Frederick. So, yeah, another brand to potentially check out for phone cases. So one of the things we didn't, get into last live stream or recent live streams is CEDIA. So CEDIA is sort of a parallel show to IFA, but it's kind of a different group. It's mostly for professional home integrators for especially things like home movie theaters and other kind of home entertainment, but also smart home stuff. And it happens in Denver around the same time as IFA. So while myself and Shane and Eric Moderated Tech and other people were out at IFA, there was, Akara even was demoing at both and was at CEDIA. But one of the things that I don't have a good picture of it, and it's not really something that works well in a picture because it looks pretty similar. But Sonos did show off the fact that they're going to be making a Era 100 that powers via PoE. So that means, you can just run an Ethernet cable through your wall and then have it go to an Era 100 speaker, and then you'll get Ethernet for data and power to that speaker. And I think that'll be really nice for a lot of professional setups, but also some advanced smart home users. Hopefully be able to take advantage of that as well. So, yeah, cool concept from Sonos that I just wanted to call out. There's a lot of other news from CEDIA, but that was one that I thought was particularly interesting. Also some stuff around some Eero PoE updates as well. Unify was showing off a lot of their latest tech as well. I mean, of course. I have this box here with from the UNAS 2. I think you can see this on the stream. So I've been playing with that. So the box is just sitting here. So that should be a fun video coming at some point soon on the channel. There's a lot of different cameras announced this week around. Google had an event, and one that I thought was interesting as well with kind of a co-brand partnership that Google's doing with Walmart. So Walmart has these new on cameras, and they start at just $23. Now, there is an Apple Home angle to this too, which we'll get to in a second. But I think it's an interesting way that Google looks like competing with Blink, right? Because Blink is, I think, more tied into Amazon than it is Google, and has some very affordable cameras. And then this is kind of a competing version of that. Of course, Google has a lot of news features with Gemini as well, and they have this new home brief that'll tell you about what's going on in the home. We'll get to that in just a second. They also have some new Google speakers they announced, new doorbells, and cameras from the Nest line. But, my family shops a lot at Walmart, and we get a lot of their different store brands for things. And I think it's makes sense that Walmart would also get into cameras. And I think that the Google partnership is, I can see where that's going. That makes sense. So it'll be, Apple's never one to really compete too much on price of things, but there are a lot of relatively affordable HomeKit cameras, but I think it will, it's nice to see pricing pressure of more low-cost camera alternatives because it keeps the prices lower, I think, for us as consumers. So hopefully that'll keep camera prices from getting too out of hand. Even if maybe you're into Apple Home or more elaborate home surveillance systems like a Ubiquiti system, but still I think it could be a good option for you or someone to consider, but also just keeps the prices low. Cool. So back on the Eric's adding some anecdata on the fast charging. Still in the Series 5. Charge it on my way to work and on my way home so I can use it at night. Okay, yeah, that works out. Yeah, I mean, you can charge a little bit morning and night, and then you'll have the full day. Yeah, I mean, I do really like, in some ways I know you probably heard YouTube or other tech reviewers complaining about the lack of significant updates on Apple Watch. And in some ways, I think, yeah, it's not fun. But in other ways, it's nice to be able to keep an older Apple Watch around, still use it, and not just keep it for the practical sense of not wanting to pay the cost of an upgrade, but you can, you're not really missing out on a lot of new features. A lot of stuff is still works with the Series 5 or, other watches. So hello from Tokyo, Daniel. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it's fun. We really get, it makes perfect sense that people are able to tune in from all over the world with the internet, but it's always kind of mind blowing when you think about it, that all that works. Oh, what's in the box? Nothing right now. So the UNES 2 box was just the box right now. I already have my UNES 2 set up. Make Smart Matter, another former guest on this live stream as well. Home surveillance is peering between the blinds. Yes. Yeah. Great to have you here. Make Smart Matter, Patrick. No, yeah, I'm not converting to Google. I just think, in the smart home space, it's good to keep an eye on what other people are doing. And I might, from time to time, play with some of that tech just so I can be informed. But I still really like using Apple Home. And I have a lot of very Apple Home related products that I've been looking at recently that I think will surprise you when it comes out. But yeah, it's some fun videos in the works right now. Let's see. So we got some more news. So very important, very on topic thing for this live stream is for those of you who live in Texas or some other places south of here, you might be familiar with the lovely gas station chain Buc-ee's. Well, Buc-ee's is actually coming. If you're a Chicagoland area resident, they're coming to Wisconsin. So about 100 it's going to be in just south of Milwaukee. They're building a big Buc-ee's. So drivable from the Chicago area, especially if you're heading up to Wisconsin for something. So I will definitely be going there at some point because I love Buc-ee's from my trips down to Texas for various reasons. So I'm glad to see we're getting one up closer to here because I think the closest one before was down in Kentucky or something. So, oh yeah, it says here in the article, Bowling Green, Kentucky was the closest one to Chicago area. So that's always exciting. I know Patrick in a recent video wore a Buc-ee's shirt. Let's see. So, also last week, quick follow up on the CarPlay issues. So I mentioned last week that I had CarPlay issues. I've had some other bugs with macOS Tahoe. The .0.1 and .0.2 releases for a lot of those operating systems are all out now. And they seem to fix most of the bugs. I still have a few issues here and there, but overall, that's working a lot better. So that's nice. If you're thinking of updating, I don't want to say it's perfect, but there are less bugs than there were a week ago. So that's something. Another thing that I've been really enjoying, Third Reality, and they had this post on Instagram teasing a new concept of a garage door opener, which I love the look of. We'll have to see. I see Edgar's Home Tech here. Also a good follow on Instagram and here in the chat. And Jimmy Hawkins. I need to get Jimmy on these live streams one of these days. But yes, Automated House, another good Instagram follow. But the Matter compatible garage door opener from Third Reality, which I think would be really cool. So we'll see if or when they come out with this concept, but just wanted to bring it to your attention. And if you follow my newsletter over at ericw.org/newsletter, I have been working on a future video that includes these, but I really think these smart plugs that I linked to here, the Smart Plug Gen 2 with power metering from Third Reality is a really great smart plug if you're what I would consider an advanced smart home user. So you can direct pair these to a lot of Zigbee hubs. So if you know what that means, then you're probably more advanced smart home user. So if you're using something like Homey Pro Mini, certain configurations of Home Assistant, right, where you might have a Zigbee radio in there. I've been finding these Third Reality smart plugs to be really good for power automation things and just all kinds of ways you can monitor the power usage and also just other basic smart home commands. And then, of course, things like Homey and those hubs could potentially expose these to Apple Home as well. So you get all the benefits there. We talked about the light switches from Aqara last week on the live stream as well. But that's my newsletter, The Sunday Scene, every Sunday. Now, this was 13, so my 14th edition of the newsletter. And every Sunday, I list 3 things in the world of Apple and smart home tech that I think are worth your attention. So ericw.org/newsletter to check that out. Say hi to some more folks in the chat. Tahoe is a public release now. Yeah, so you can get Tahoe. I even have it on my my work computer now. So Tahoe is public. And yes, Eric, the jerky at Buc-ee's is very good. And it is very easy to spend $100+ there on all kinds of random food and snacks and other stuff. And it's also great. They have great bathrooms there too. Yes, Frederick's mentioned the bathrooms. So, and Brian's another vote for Buc-ee's. So good to see we have some Buc-ee's fans here in the chat. So the biggest thing I'd say they compare to the Eve energy plugs is twofold. One, they use Zigbee, which may or may not be what you're looking for, right? If you want to do more thread, then the third reality ones are not going to be a good option. The biggest reason I think is just cost, because you can get those third reality plugs for around $12 to $15 a plug. We got Prime Day coming up next week. Maybe they'll be on sale. I actually don't remember right now if they're on sale, but yeah, third reality smart plugs are pretty cool for that kind of like quick, low cost, and also can direct pair to a lot of options. Third reality also has their own bridge, which then makes them Matter compatible. I tried that. They sent me one of those too, and it's fine. I would rather just pair them to something else that gives me more automation options out of the box. So, and I should note, as well, Third Reality did send me a couple of the plugs as well as a handful of other products. But I have also purchased some of those plugs myself just because I liked what they sent me and I wanted more of it. So Eric's been having issues with the power metering on Third Reality. I've not seen this. Mine are working well. Cool. So yeah, you got a smart plug just without the power metering. That's nice. Yeah. Yes. Make Smart Matter is part of the Anti-Bridge Alliance. We have the Z-Wave Alliance, the Zigbee Alliance, the Anti-Bridge crowd. I think it's a wired bridge, Ratchet Gang. I can't remember. Maybe it is wireless. It's like a very tiny box. But I would really think about if you're thinking about those smart plugs, it would be because you have something like Homey Pro or Home Assistant, and you want to have a smart plug that talks really well to those kinds of systems. Not as much something I'd recommend for using Third Reality's own bridge. I found it fine, but I think, their software probably could be a little better. And I think back to Brian's comment earlier about the Eve Energy smart plugs, I think Eve has way better software and apps for their smart plugs, and they're directly compatible with Matter out of the box. They don't need a bridge for that to what Patrick's looking for. So Eve Energies might be a better fit for you if those are your priorities, but it's going to be more expensive for sure. Maybe double or triple the cost, but still you're talking about probably less than $50. So, yeah. All right. So, let's see. We got, there's this Apple patent this week, which I thought was interesting. We'll see if this actually makes it into a product, but a body temperature sensor on a mattress. And, of course, as the article mentions, Apple acquired Bedit, which was a sleep tracking device that goes on your bed mattress in 2017. It never really got integrated in anything Apple does, but they kept selling the device. And of course, Apple has lots of ways to sleep track, as we talked about just now with the Apple Watch. But yeah, I think I would love to see Apple do some kind of a way to automate your smart home based on being awake or asleep. You could potentially do it with a personal automation inside of your iPhone when the iPhone stops being in sleep focus, right? Then you could potentially do something. But yeah, that's really the only way I can think of. And I know there are certain automation platforms that have ties with certain health monitors, and you can do some things of when I actually get up, have something automatically happen in my home. Could be a nice source of home automation, but of course, I'm sure if Apple's really interested in this, and patenting it for a reason, then it's probably more related to health stuff. But one can dream. Okay, so I also think there's a lot of things with the new Google Gemini that are really interesting around. I'm trying to see. The Verge had a really good screenshot of this earlier this week, but one other cool concept that the Gemini chatbot for Google Home Control had in it that I think it was Tech with Brett was sharing. Maybe it was on Twitter. I can't remember exactly where I saw it, but the ability to undo. So you can ask your smart home to do something and then just say undo it, and it will remember what it just did and undo. And it sounds very simple, right? Because undo is built into every app you use almost, but it's actually kind of a hard thing to do from a software perspective, and especially with a smart home where you have lots of different potential things all spread out around your home that could be changing. I thought it's, and then, to not only just change something, but remember the state that all those things were previously in and be able to undo it. Sounds simple, but kind of impressive idea, that huge if true, I guess you could say. But some cool automation ideas coming from the chat. Yes, of course, Patrick had a video on Homey, so not anti-Homey per se, but yeah, I just had to poke fun at you, Patrick. Yeah, Ratchet Gang brings up a good point. It would be nice to get rid of a lot of smart home bridges. It would really simplify a lot of things. I think that's the concept around Thread and Matter in general. Realistically, though, I think hubs, bridges, whatever you want to call them, are, I think, here to stay for a while, just because I think they can be the source of a lot of reliable automations and a lot of simplicity. If you're looking for how is a smart home accessible to a lot more people, I think getting it where you get this one box, and this one box controls a bunch of stuff in your home, and it all just works nicely together because the company that ships the box can test all the stuff that talks to the box and make sure it all works well. We've seen it with Philips Hue. We've seen it with Lutron Caseta. We've seen it with, Akara, as well, with a lot of their Zigbee stuff, and even now moving in a little bit to Thread. So I think there's a lot of examples of companies that have pulled off reliable systems. Some of the security systems like Ring, of course, with on the Z-Wave side. So I think it's a challenge. It'll be a while, I think, before we have stuff that works reliably all the time, as reliably. Now, a lot of Thread stuff is reliable. I think there's a lot of great Thread products out there. I'm not saying don't buy Thread products, but at the same time, I think there's maybe still an edge that some of these hub-based products have in certain cases. And if you're looking for the most bulletproof option, maybe not the most future-proof, but the most bulletproof, like you can set this up and it will work all the time, one of these bridge-based solutions is probably going to be more reliable, in my opinion. But it's not always the best, from having all these boxes hanging off of your router. For those of us with fancy Ubiquity racks, and I have a whole dedicated level 2 or level 3 switch for just my bridges, right? And it's a 16 port switch. So when you have that kind of setup, one more bridge, who cares? But it's not ideal. There should be a mute option in Control Center, Saul. For if you swipe down in Control Center, it has the same silent mute option that you have on iPhone, and that should turn off the sound for notifications on iPad. Yeah, undo, delete all files from earlier. Hey, Water Bottle 365, good to have you back. Good to see you here. Thanks for joining. Yes, Frederick kind of adding some more experience to my comment earlier, just mentioning that he was anti-hub at the start, and then once you tried Lutron Caseta, changed his mind. So those, by the way, those shades I talked about a while ago now on my channel, I think it was March or April, continuing to work really well. So those honeycomb smart shades, they're really good. And there aren't as many options for smart shades that are honeycomb. And these are the newer Caseta shades that are a little bit less expensive, still expensive for smart shades, but much more affordable than the Serena shades line from Lutron, which can get quite expensive, especially if you're doing multiple windows. All right, so there's some more immersive video for Apple Vision Pro. I used my Apple Vision Pro today. I've been using it more and more as a Mac monitor, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how Apple markets a potential new version of the Vision Pro soon. I really enjoy Apple Vision Pro, but it's not really smart home. There hasn't been a lot in the smart home space, obviously, around it. There's been some cool apps for smart home tech, but the immersive video is really the thing that gets me into Apple Vision Pro. Every time I watch immersive video, I feel like I was at some special ride at a theme park or museum. And you can actually, by the way, if there's an immersive video that like really seems like, oh man, I just wish for that one video that I had an Apple Vision Pro. From my understanding, now I haven't tried this myself, but you can go into the Apple Store and see any of the Apple immersive videos. Some of the longer ones, you probably couldn't pull it off with this, but if it's a shorter one, a lot of them are like 5-10 minutes long. You can just do a Vision Pro try-on session. They still have those in the store, and request or to see that particular video, and then you can see it. And no one's going to keep score that, oh, well, you had a try-on 3 months ago, so we're not going to do it for you. They'll still do it. So I think that's a way. If you see some of those Vision Pro things, you can still see them without having to fork over all the money. But they have some new ones coming, and Night of the BBC Proms, Experience Paris. There's like a new MotoGP one that just came out, which I've not watched. But yeah, more immersive video. I'm interested to see this whole, whatever the horse jumping is from the Olympics, that would be cool to see. I think my wife's really into horse jumping, so that would be fun to see. Here's another good point on hubs from Saul. They divide the load on devices. Hadn't thought about that, but it's true. If you have connections to certain devices through the bridge hub, and then other devices on other parts of your network, it's not creating. I guess you could argue also it could be creating a choke point in your network where everything has to go through that one bridge. But if it's not everything that's going through that one bridge, it could work out. Oh yes, can I repeat the name? Lutron Caseta shades. So I think it was Frederick who brought up earlier. I'll pull up the website so you can see it. CEDIAwireless.com. So Lutron CEDIA, we've talked about in the past for smart switches, and they came out at CES with CEDIA shades, and they sent me some of the honeycomb shades to try out after CES. Earlier this year, I made a video on them. Here's the honeycomb shades. They also have roller shades. They are, one of the ways that Lutron is saving money here or making it more affordable is you can choose any color you want as long as it's gray or white. So that you have less options in terms of types of shades and finishes. If you go up to the Serena shades line from Lutron, so Lutron has a lot of different lines of shades and lighting that go up to very high-end things like their RA line, which is for big fancy homes with installers. But there are some use cases. Maybe some of you guys in the audience use Lutron RA, but it's usually for big homes. But Lutron Serena shades, I have some of those from a previous video I did on Lutron Serena shades back in like 2019. They're very nice, just usually more expensive than CEDIA shades. CEDIA shades, I would say you could probably get, a couple windows for $600-700, I think, or maybe $500, depending on, roller versus honeycomb or the size of the shades. So about $250 a window. When you get into Serena shades, you're quickly looking at like $600 or $700 a window. Depending on the size, it varies a lot, right? But you can choose wood blinds, you can choose all kinds of finishes and stuff, but it all still works with the same CEDIA wireless bridge. So if you have the CEDIA wireless smart switches, then their shades also work. So speaking of, I think they might be having some sales around some of their products coming up next week, especially their starter kits. They usually go on sale for Prime Day. So if you're looking to get into Lutron, next week's Prime Day might give you a little bit of a discount for some of the new stuff. Although in past Prime Days or sales like Black Friday stuff, they have also discounted some of their individual dimmers. So you might see some dimmers. I haven't ever seen Lutron give a discount on switches. So we'll see. And I'll have more coverage on Prime Day. I guess I'll put some of that in my newsletter on Sunday, what you can look for there. So keep an eye out for my newsletter on Sunday. I'll point you in the right direction, but also, of course, a lot of those deals for Prime Day will launch Wednesday, I think is the first day of Prime Day next week. So stay tuned for that. There are sometimes some pre-deals, but also a lot of stuff really goes live when Prime Day actually starts. Yeah, no problem, Daniel. What's trying to catch up with what you guys are talking about in the chat. So this is a good question, Dawn. I did a video about it when whatever the first generation of iPhone was that they added it. I think it was the 14 or 15 Pro. It started in the Pro model phones like a lot of Apple features do, and then it came down to all of them. From my understanding, there were some like footnotes and little bits of literature here and there. It does enable Apple devices like iPhones to directly control Thread smart home devices and sort of join your Thread network in certain ways. I think it's much more of a forward-looking concept than something that's meant for like a lot of features now, right? You don't see Apple marketing the Thread radios at all or really mentioning it a lot. I think it's more meant to be something that will be useful in the future. But for the time being, for a new smart home user, if you get a Thread accessory, you can set it up with just your iPhone. And well, I think all the Thread chipsets, at least to this point, also support Bluetooth. So you could potentially just control it with Bluetooth from your phone. the iPhones that have Thread also have that option using Apple Home to talk to them over Thread. But your phone isn't, from my understanding, serving in the traditional sense of being like what's called a router in Thread, or really, connecting other devices on your Thread network, or being a border router to the rest of your network from your Thread network. None of the iPhone's not doing any of that. But that's my understanding of why the Thread radio is there. But yeah, in a certain way, Apple is quietly probably the largest manufacturer of Thread-based products in the world, given how many iPhones they ship. Oh, yes, this is another good point for just things to consider as you look at Prime Day and some other stuff. 9 to 5 Mac had a nice roundup earlier this week about 5 products they think Apple will launch in October. Of course, we got new Apple TV 4K. So they think it'll come with the A17 Pro chip. I think that's the same one as the iPad mini. That'll give it the option of having Apple Intelligence. We'll see if they actually do that in the Apple TV or not. HomePod Mini 2 as well, because it has a very old processor. And yeah, it was released 5 years ago. So HomePod Mini is getting kind of old. Would love to see a new version. I would bet too there'll probably be a price hike. I would be surprised if they don't make the HomePod Mini something like $129. But I don't know. We'll see. I also wouldn't be surprised if the HomePod Mini gets a little bigger, but maybe it'll stick around at $99 and just be basically the same thing with a faster processor. The other thing I've heard speculated about the HomePod Mini is improved Wi-Fi. It's still Wi-Fi 4 in that thing. And if you've used HomePod Minis in your home, you know that they're not the best Wi-Fi devices. So, which reminds me, there's like a whole bunch of personal news I need to get to at the end of this stream about just stuff going on in my home. And then the M5 iPad Pro, of course, I think, there's been some likely unboxings of the M5 iPad Pro coming from different parts of the world on YouTube, or at least one video that went viral. So that's almost certain to be close to coming, but we'll see about the other products. Again, I would be excited to see a new Apple TV or HomePod Mini, as I'm sure many of you would as well. But no guarantees. We might be waiting a while. I could also see the argument that Apple would just kind of wait a bunch of those devices until something like a March event, right? If they have a smart home display ready in March, maybe they just do all the new smart home stuff in March. But we'll see what happens. They traditionally have launched new products in October. I wouldn't be surprised if new Macs are also coming. But there's also been rumors that new Macs might be delayed until January or February of next year. So we'll see on that front. But personally, so I got a new front door this week. That's been really exciting. Got that installed. It looks great. Let me see if I can actually pull up some photos for you of the front door and what it looks like when front door is torn off of your home. And that'll be coming too in the form of, I have a number of different reviews of smart locks lined up and some other stuff coming this fall, just because a new front door makes that all look much nicer than my previous door was kind of an eyesore. And just, it came with the house, and not really the most ideal door for shooting a lot of YouTube videos around locks. And so this is what it looks like when you have and there's also another bit of personal news update as well, but this is what it looks like when you have the front door off of your home, right? It's that whole square thing with the side lights and everything torn off. And then, they put a new one in. And so this is what the new door looks like. It's came primed, so I still have to paint it. And I actually have the Sleekpoint Thorbolt X1 on there as a smart lock right now. And we'll see how that works out. And I have other smart locks also coming to test for that too. So that's my new front door, which I'm very excited about. And it's so nice as well, just in that entryway, to have natural light coming through that window. We previously had like a solid door there, which didn't let any light through. Let's see. So the big other thing, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I am not a fan, generally speaking, of creating a separate Wi-Fi network for your smart home devices. A lot of people like to do, especially a lot of advanced smart home users, like to set up something like a separate subnet even on their network that's then separates their smart home devices from everything else. I think that's still a little bit of overkill, but in a recent video I did a while ago a video I did earlier in the summer this year about Ubiquiti Wi-Fi, and just looking at some of the new tech and installing some of the new Ubiquiti Wi-Fi access points in my home, and showing some of the reasons why you might want to use one of their wall access points or outdoor access points. But one of the things I talked about in that video is just how Wi-Fi tech is moving much beyond the smart home. And there's a lot of new Wi-Fi standards that don't play well with smart home tech. And so I started to have more and more problems where smart home tech was just difficult to set up or tricky to deal with, where it would be just expecting a pure 2.4 gigahertz network, and a lot of other things turned off. And Ubiquiti, of course, which is what I've been using for my network, they have a whole thing really pushing you towards, in their settings, turning on this IoT mode, which means, and they're trying to get it so you create a separate Wi-Fi network for your Internet of Things, smart home devices. And so I finally caved, and earlier this week I set up. So what I did is I didn't want to have to re-enter the password and stuff for all my existing smart home devices. So I changed the settings on my existing smart home network to be 2.4 gigahertz only, and to be a lot of the preferred IoT settings like PMF off and some other stuff off for and using WPA2 and things for my smart home network. And then I have a new Wi-Fi network that has all the new Wi-Fi 6 and 7 goodness and a lot of other stuff that then my devices connect to. So my devices as in like my laptops and my phone and stuff like that. So my iPad, that's all on the new network. So, and even things like Apple TVs are on the new network. And I just think it's kind of complicated in a certain way, but I wouldn't be surprised if smart home tech becomes more prevalent if you don't see more wireless router companies that make like mesh routers and stuff starting to have this as a feature where you can create a smart home network in the settings, right? You flip a switch and boom, there's your smart home network, and just some nicer ways to deal with this in software, because I think it makes a lot of practical sense. There's just going to be a lot of older Wi-Fi devices that are better connecting to a network that follows a lot of those older standards. And there's plenty of newer stuff you have in your home that you probably want to have on the newer speeds. So I joined the club, and that's what I'm doing. It's not necessary, I'd say, but it is something to consider if you're hitting a lot of those issues setting up Wi-Fi devices on your smart home, or also having things like lots of signal quality or signal issues with your other devices that are not smart home related on your Wi-Fi network. It might be there's not enough fancy things to steer your devices over to 6 gigahertz or whatever else going on your network. So just some things to consider, and some things that I've been considering. I'm sure there's some of you guys in the chat who are at least on both sides of that. Not a fan of the HomePod Mini. Make smart matter. Let's see. Yes, that is essentially what I said to my wife. So, Yeah, the lock videos are coming. They're coming. So look out. But I don't know why I said look out. Like, look out on YouTube to go watch them. But it is actually, to inside baseball. I did actually, I think, legitimately do it this is not financial advice, but I did do it as a tax write-off for my business because it's like something I'm getting for filming. So, we'll see. That's a whole other can of worms, but yeah, it's a business thing. I got my new front door, so we'll see. But yeah, and now I just need more windows for smart shades. I can put smart shades, as Saul's, I think, pointing out, on that new window on my new door. So, you just spend money and you keep creating new problems. It's how the world works. But yes, until then, and new door video is sponsored by, yes. I should have worked that in, but I think would have been a lot to, I don't know. Probably could have done that, but oh well, too late now. Yes, Brian, exactly. Oh yeah, Frederick, thanks for showing that. Anyways, I really wish Apple TV would subsidize some development of games platform. Yeah. Like I think, I'm not an expert in the gaming industry at all, but people I respect who are more clued into that. I just, given this YouTube channel, basically, I mean, I like to play games. I have some gaming systems. I do play games from time to time, but this YouTube channel sucks up a lot of my potential gaming time, especially as a father of 3, and I have a job during the day. So, but I think there's a lot Apple could do to make the Apple TV more of a gaming platform, especially if they moved the A17 Pro. I mean, that's a lot of processing power for a TV set-top box. Of course, you can support all the fancy home theater specs and keep upgrading all of that for later versions of HDR and 4K and maybe 8K and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think there's a lot that Apple could do with gaming, and I think there's a lot more people out there interested in, hey, another gaming option for my living room, rather than, oh, look at this brand new fancy home theater spec that I could support on my TV, right? Because a lot of people might not have TVs that support that anytime soon. So whatever that is, insert your favorite video spec here. Yeah, front doors it was a little bit of investment, but again, I'm painting it myself and doing a bunch of things. I'm putting the storm door on myself to save some money. So it ended up being not too bad, but yeah, definitely something it took a little bit of planning, and of course, it's also one of those things too where I'm sure you guys in the chat could probably relate to other home scenarios where you order it and they tell you it'll come within a certain date range. And I'm like thinking, okay, that works great with my schedule, right? Like it was supposed to be the week I get home after IFA. So it's like, all right, I probably will have some time there based on other stuff going on in my life. That should be a good week to deal with painting the door and stuff. And of course, then the door actually comes and gets installed the week before Prime Day when the weather's starting to get colder here, and then we get rain coming in. So it's like, I want to get a lot of this done before it gets colder, but I also have like lots of things at my job this week and next week and stuff totally unrelated to Prime Day at all, just like more stuff at work and stuff on the YouTube channel. So it's like, I'm very thankful to be able to have this new door, but it's also, of course, just as odds are, it just comes at the worst possible time, but it is what it is. So yeah, mine was not that bad, Frederick, but you can quickly spend a lot. And it's made me appreciate too, like you look at doors on different homes or different, like even just commercial buildings, you're like, man, this thing must have been expensive. I have a new appreciation for just seeing a door, like, wow, that was fancy. Although speaking of doors, I think Shane and we were talking about this a little bit last week, the last stream I did with Edgar, but like, the other side of this with the smart home YouTube side is fake doors that you can do testing of locks on. And I have like a fake lock testing thing, but it doesn't have the other side of the door, right? So mine's just and this doesn't have a smart lock on it right now, but it just has the bolt side. Here I can use my new camera angle here, but yeah, so this is my lock tester, but it only has it doesn't close. So with something like the level lock that I was testing, that has that magnetic strike plate that then registers when the door is closed. Of course, that doesn't really help to put it on this test rig I have, so I got to figure out a test rig with a fake door that actually shuts. But yeah, that's a whole other layer of stuff. But yeah, my original doors, exactly. That's how I was for a while, and probably will be for this one better last a long time. We've been going a while here on the stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Great to have you here. Fun conversation, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. Stay tuned for my channel. Members getting a new video tomorrow, and then that'll go live to everybody on Saturday, and a lot more content coming next week. So, yeah, another tax write-off. Yeah, until I spend all the money I don't have. So we'll see. But all right, guys, have a good night.